Welcome to OrangeGrove55.
And then Jay Sherer, our buddy over at Story Geeks, says also, this is a follow-up, I think, to like ClickNet's question about like getting to 4,000 subs and what have you. He says, have solid topics and approach it in a way that no one else is. OG55 is great because they're talking Disney leadership and decision-making from a market and fan standpoint. Well, thank you, Jay. That we appreciate that. And we do try to do something a little different here. We you know, when I started the channel in 2016, I wanted to kind of like, I wanted to take kind of like the Christian Harloff, John Campea model that they use for like when they do their content for film and what have you, and bring it into the parks, because that was really sorely missing with the park stuff. A lot of the park stuff, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of sugary stuff, and it was just kind of like, it was different. It was different. And I wanted to have a really discussion-based, honest, kind of raw discussion about these parks in a way that we really haven't seen before. So that was kind of my angle with it. But ClickNet, whatever your angle is, do that, right? Just be different, set yourself apart, and just be yourself. And I think you'll go far. I really do. And Jay, thank you so much, man. We appreciate that. We do try to be different here. Definitely. We don't want to just do what everyone else is doing. We really want to have a different kind of approach to all this stuff. And we appreciate you noticing that, man.
OG has his secret ingredients, and then we have a little dab of Vash's Robust and a little pinch of my Balls to the Wall, and then there you go. There's the OG55 channel.
Now that is a direct reference to the Theme Park Casual, who wrote that amazing tweet. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so awesome to have that, as Christian Wastelands McCarthy would say,
that robust
discussion right there. I think that's pretty good. But no, here's the interesting thing about that, OG, that you brought up so astutely. Like a lot of people, when they talk about the parks, they talk about it from a very guest perspective, or maybe maybe they might talk about it from a more cast member's perspective, right? So a lot of the podcasts do that and so forth. But on YouTube, especially Disneyland, I mean, there are some out there, but they talk about the operational thing and all that kind of stuff, which I love, which we even bring that sort of thing to this channel and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people maybe necessarily don't understand that a lot of what happens at the corporate end affects the parks. And a lot of people just aren't having that kind of connection or discussion or so forth, right? And they're not establishing those connections and including that in their discussion of the parks. And that's kind of what we kind of wanted to, I think, have kind of naturally brought to the show, and I think it is appealing to a lot of people, because what happens here is definitely going to affect you here, and some people don't understand that those things are interconnected in that way, but you can see that throughout history.
You can, and here's the other thing too: is a lot of content creators are kind of nervous to bring up certain things, like even just bringing up Bob Chapek. A lot of people are worried, like, oh, I can't, he's controversial. I don't want to bring him up. We'll just talk Magic Key renewal. We'll just talk, I don't know, we'll talk Genie Plus, or we'll talk about the new Churro or the new Dole Whip or whatever. And that stuff is fine. That's great. We dive into that stuff here on OG55 as well. But you have to dive into the uncomfortable conversations. You have to dive into Bob Chapek. I know a lot of people don't like him, but you got to dive into that. Right? You got to dive into that. You got to dive into the politics. I know a lot of other creators don't want to talk about that, but it's the reality of the situation on the ground. When you have the governor of Florida repealing, like, going after like Reedy Creek, things like that. You have the governor of California limiting Disney's ability, to even like operate here when they close down the parks for like 400 and something days because of the pandemic. You have to be able to talk about these subjects. And I know it's uncomfortable, but it's vital to the whole conversation. Like, how do you leave this stuff out?
Because really, honestly, it's the conversations that people are having in their homes just by themselves, and it's the conversations that people are kind of having in private. But, I seek out people who are having those conversations or have the, I don't know, the goal to have these conversations in public, and I think that's kind of struck a chord with our audience there in kind of a unique way. But to further illustrate this point in terms of like JPEG and how that influences the parks, I mean, just think about it. Like I know I remember experiencing this as a guest firsthand. Riding on Indiana Jones Adventure and seeing this amazing elaborate attraction in 1995, and then 6 years later going on Superstar Limo, and not really like, whoa, what happened here? Like, what was the story behind this? And that's largely because, things happened at the corporate level. They invested in Paris, didn't quite pan out. Frank Wells died. Frank Wells passes away. We kind of get into a new era here. Michael Eisner has his quadruple bypass surgery, and how that affected maybe his decision making when it came to Disney California Adventure and what we saw there. So, from like a guest perspective, I remember experiencing that, not necessarily understanding what the what the delta between those two attractions, what went into those, and how we got the attractions that we did. But a lot of that originated in the corporate level, and that's kind of what we do on OG55, because what happens here will affect here. And I think it's really important to share that information and bring to light why you might be experiencing what you're experiencing when it comes to the parks or the studio or whatever.
And another key factor is one of the biggest ones of them all is you're allowed to disagree. You can disagree. Be civilized, and just have a decent human conversation. Even with us three, not even just with you guys as the viewers or listeners. There's stuff that we don't agree upon, but yet here we are. We have the conversation multiple times a week. And, and another thing is you can't even just sugarcoat even something as simple as a churro or a beverage just because you say, oh, well, I'm in Disney and it's like, oh, this is really good. But then when we get there, it's a load of crap. It's like, it's not being truthful to your audience. And, we'll come out right out and say it. And Vash and I has said it many times before, that disgusting PB&J drink at Avengers Campus, I'd rather drink a bowl of sewage than to have that again. It's it's disgusting. But that's it's just the hard truth. And then that's, it's, you may not like it, you may not agree with it, but I think at the end of the day, you respect it.
Right. You just gotta be honest. And you gotta dive into topics that might be a little uncomfortable to talk about, and that, because this company, there's a lot going on, it's not all about churros. It's not all about Dole Whips.
Yeah.
There's more to this, and JPEG and the politics are a huge part of all that stuff. 100%. How do you talk about the company and the parks and leave that stuff out is beyond me. I really don't understand it.